Hi, Jed from Cook Culture. So in this quick video, I'm talking about something very, very, very particular. We are a dealer for field cast iron skillets. What that is these guys here. The field, this is the field number 4. These are an American designed, American made, handcrafted cast iron skillet. Some people, including myself, think that Field is the best quality cast iron skillets on the market. And they are easy to look after and easy to clean. But because they're a Field product with a beautifully finished surface, we're gonna just go over how I clean these and how I get these done for what I call post-seasoning. So this pan here, when it was made, it was a light silvery metal color. This has seasoning all over it, is what makes it this kind of browny golden color. So this is 3 coats from the factory of seasoning, and it's basically ready to go out of the box. This guy here is a Field number 10. He's been used many, many times. There's the number there. And we just cooked some food in there. So I was dry roasting in the pan some mushrooms that has created a bunch of, there was garlic and a bunch of things have stuck onto this. So I wanted to use this as an example of how we're gonna maintain this. This is a very typical of when you would be done cooking, some other veg or a steak or another piece of protein. Your pan is gonna look like this at the end. And we wanna make this pan look shiny and beautiful and ready to go for when you're ready to use it next. So this is pre-seasoning, getting your pan ready. Post-seasoning is after we have cooked in it. Pre-seasoning can be done in the oven, long process. Post-seasoning is something you do after you cook, and it's a really simple, quick maintenance habit after you cook your food. So what I've done is that I've cooked the food. This pan is now kind of gone to a room temperature. I'm holding on to it. What I should have done is taken this hot pan and put some cold water in it and it steamed it and bubbled it and just helped release what's in there. If it's really well seasoned, that's not going to create any rusting, and it's not going to be detrimental to the pan at all. If you have a really good seasoning, you can put the water in there, it helps lift and release. However, for this point, I wanted to leave it and let everything kind of cool and bake on there. So for cleaning the pan like this and any cast iron, the only tool that really works extraordinarily well is chainmail. And chainmail can come in different looks. Like Field does a really nice, just simple chain cloth. This is one that's got a piece of silicone in the middle of it, and it's all rounded and super smooth. There's nothing sharp, you're not gonna cut yourself, but it's also chainmail as you'd expect. It's super strong. So because it's smooth but strong is what we wanna use to clean this surface. So we're gonna go to the sink, and we're going to really simply just run a bit of lukewarm water just so it's not cold on your hand. It doesn't really matter if it's hot or cold. And we're going to just run that all around. And as you can see, the color of the water is kind of browny, a little bit coming out. So I'm just kind of going all over. For this example, I didn't have to go very hard, just all around the pan. And what I'm going to do is run my fingers around it, and I can feel a little bit of something right over there. But I'm just cleaning like this, just like if I was using a cloth. This is a nylon cloth. This is a chainmail cloth with silicone. So I've got everything out of there. I haven't been too harsh to it. And when we look at the pan now, it's a nice kind of blackened, browny, dark brown color. So I'm now going to go back over to the heat, take the water off the bottom, and I throw it onto probably about say a 7 or an 8. Let's go 8 and want it to go to. And what I'm going to do now is let that pan heat up, and it's going to dry completely. I've taken quite a bit of the water off with this cloth, but it's going to dry completely and heat up for about say 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. I'm gonna leave it on the heat. So seasoning oil, I suggest grapeseed oil. Some people use canola oil, which is fine. Some people use flax oil that I've heard mixed results with, but just really easy using a grapeseed oil and not a fruit oil. Olive oils, and especially more expensive olive oils or avocado oils, they don't work. They create a sticky mess and they just don't work. If you have a really heavily refined olive oil that you got from somewhere like Costco, that can work just fine because it's really heavily refined. It's not a virgin fresh press, it's not dark and fruity, it's thin and fairly white, and that can work just fine. But the rule of thumb for us is grapeseed oil, and people are successful. So there's an argument that people like to have around using olive oil or not, but it's really about the fruit content or the fruitiness that creates the gumminess within those types of fruit oils. Seed oils work well. So using an oil works. We use what's called buzzy wax, and buzzy wax comes in a paste. So what's really nice with the paste is that you can use a higher quality oil, and oils can go kind of rancid, and when they're suspended in the wax, they stay fresh and pure, which is really nice. So a nice little trick also that the guys at Buzzy Wax told me about. So you've got your Buzzy Wax, get a old cloth, a lot like what you'd polish your shoes with, and keep them together and store them in a Ziploc bag. And the purpose of that is that this is thick with wax. There's a lot of wax on here. And so I could actually not even use this, and I'll show you an example, and I could use what I have on that to start to season this pan. So that's been sitting around since the last time I seasoned. And just even that thin coat of where it went from that kind of dry look to this kind of shiny look, that's all that we need to put on there to kind of cook on that next layer. So if I was to put a little bit more, I would just take a tiny bit, and just rub it around. And what I will find though is that I've used a little bit more, and that'll stay a little bit greasy when this dries up, and I'll wipe that down. But what we've done is that we have caked this on, and I don't know if you can see it on film here, but we're getting a little bit of smoke coming off the surface. It's not billowing, but just a little bit of smoke is pulling off, and that's great. We can leave that to cook just a little bit. When you're dealing with an extraordinarily high quality piece of cookware like a field cast iron, is that there's not going to go from cooked to just smoke. It's just, unless you've left it too high for too long, then of course you will. But if you've done it within the time frame that I talked about, it's going to have a nice gentle sort of smoke. Have your hood fan on, it'll suck it up, no problem. You don't have to smoke out your place to season your pans. You're doing it wrong if that's what you're doing. So I've just turned it down a tiny bit because we didn't need to continue smoking. And if you ever get to a point where it's been too hot and your oil starts to separate, keep working it on. So just keep watching it. The pan will cool and it will stop doing that. It'll stop kind of breaking apart like a spider web. So we brought it down. I'll turn it right off. And now I'm going to leave it like this to completely cool. And so that will post season your field cast iron. And of course you can use this for any cast iron that you want, but we have people that come and buy field from us. We're the only Canadian dealer of field. People come, they buy it, it's their new baby. I wanted to do this specific video for how you do it with this type of surface. So you want to get this beautiful sheen, and that sheen is what you're looking for when you put this away. Clean sheen. For me personally, I leave mine on my stovetop all the time. I never put my field away. This is one of the most gorgeous pieces of cookware that you can get your hands on, so why hide it? So I keep mine away. I keep my Buzzy Wax close. Also, just FYI, Field is coming out with their own that we will be having in store sooner than later, but right now Buzzy Wax is what we have, and it's awesome. I'm really happy with it. Comes in a conventional and also an organic. And then I store both of those, because they're a little bit greasy and stinky, in my plastic bag, and I store that away, and I just pull it out every day. When I do this, each and every single time that I cook, I do this process. It's super fast, easy to do, and this is basically non-stick when I'm ready to go. So I hope that's clear for you, and any questions, please leave a comment. Thanks so much.